They were the faces we grew up with, adorable, talented, unforgettable. On movie screens and black and white TVs, they made us laugh, cry, and believe in magic. Their names once echoed through households across America, and their pictures covered every fan magazine from coast to coast. But then, they vanished. What really happens to child stars once the cameras stop rolling? Why do some fade quietly while others spiral into chaos? And how did a few manage to turn childhood fame into something even greater? Today, we're diving deep into the lives of 20 child stars who disappeared from Hollywood. Some by force, others by choice. Their stories range from tragic and haunting to inspiring and redemptive. Some were robbed of their fortunes. Let's begin. Bobby Driscoll wasn't just a child star, he was Disney's first. The voice of Peter Pan, the face of Treasure Island, and the recipient of an Academy Juvenile Award by age 12, but fame has a brutal expiration date. As puberty hit, Bobby's cherubic looks faded. Acne scarred his skin, his voice changed, and just like that, Disney dropped him. At 16, he was already washed up. Struggling to fit in, he fell into heroin use and petty crime. Arrests piled up, so did disappointment. His final years were a shadow of what once was. Alone, broke, and estranged from his family, Bobby died in 1968. His body wasn't identified for over a year. He was buried in an unmarked grave on Hart Island, New York's Potter's Field. The boy who once flew as Peter Pan died forgotten and grounded forever. At number 2, we have Shirley Temple. She was America's sweetheart. During the Great Depression, her dimples, curls, and songs brought hope to millions. By 7, she was earning more than most CEOs today. Dolls, merchandise, movies, she was a one-child empire. But the audience grew up, and so did she. By her teens, her popularity had waned. After a few lackluster films, she retired from acting at 22. But Shirley wasn't done making history. She reinvented herself as Shirley Temple Black, a powerful voice in diplomacy. She ran for Congress, represented the U.S. at the UN, and later served as ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia. She didn't just survive Hollywood, she transcended it. At number 3 is Martin Stevens. If you've ever seen Village of the Damned, you'll remember Martin Stevens. Cold stare, white blonde hair, the child who made horror history. By age 12, he was one of Britain's most compelling young actors. But after a handful of roles, including The Eerie, The Innocents, he simply vanished. For decades, fans speculated he had died young. In reality, he chose privacy. Martin left acting at 16, never looking back. He built a quiet, successful life outside the spotlight. Occasionally, he appears in documentaries about his films, but that's it. No scandals, no tabloid stories, just a clean break. Sometimes the scariest child stars leave behind the quietest echoes. At number 4 is Benita Granville. Benita wasn't just a talented child actress, she was Hollywood's original mean girl. At 13, she earned an Oscar nomination for playing a lying schoolgirl in these 3. But she's better remembered as the teenage sleuth Nancy Drew. As she matured, acting roles dried up, but Benita had a plan. She married millionaire producer Jack Rather and helped build the Rather Corporation, which would later produce Lassie. She went from in front of the camera to running the show behind it. By the time she passed away in 1988, Benita was a powerful executive, leaving behind not just a film legacy, but a business empire. Jay North. Jay was the face of Dennis the Menace. But behind the striped shirt and mischievous grin was a kid suffering in silence. Off-screen, Jay endured emotional abuse from his guardians. The pressure to perform perfectly left him isolated and emotionally scarred. When the show ended, so did his childhood. As a teen, he couldn't escape the Dennis image. His career stalled. By his 20s, he had left acting altogether and became a corrections officer. In later years, Jay opened up about the damage early fame caused. His honesty has helped other former child stars come to terms with their own pasts. Sometimes, surviving Hollywood means walking away completely. At number 6 is Margaret O'Brien. In Meet Me in St. Louis, Margaret's tearful performance beside Judy Garland became iconic. She could cry on cue, light up the screen, and break your heart all before adolescence. But by her teens, the roles stopped coming. Rather than fight for fading fame, Margaret stepped away. She focused on education, family, and living life out of the spotlight. She never made headlines, but she never needed to. Today, she occasionally attends classic film festivals, charming fans with her grace and warmth. At 87, she remains a gentle reminder that not all child star stories end in tragedy. At number 7 is Scotty Beckett. He was one of the original Our Gang kids, the Little Rascals. With a sideways cap and irresistible charm, he was destined for stardom. And for a while, he had it. He transitioned into adult roles and worked with Hollywood's biggest names. But his father's death sent him spiraling. Alcohol, prescription abuse, and brushes with the law destroyed his reputation. By his 30s, Scotty was unemployable and deeply troubled. In 1968, he was found dead in a nursing home under suspicious circumstances. He was only 3'8". The rascal who once made America laugh died alone and forgotten. At number 8 is Deanna Durbin. She saved Universal Studios from bankruptcy. Her angelic voice and girl-next-door charm made her one of the highest-paid women in America before she turned 21. Then she quit. At 27, she walked away from a $200,000 per film contract. She moved to France, married, and refused all offers to return to Hollywood. For the next 60 years, she lived privately, speaking publicly only once. Her words? "I was never happy in Hollywood." She died in 2013 at age 91, having built a life far richer in meaning than money. Her story is one of the boldest disappearances in film history. At number 9 is Jackie Coogan. In 1921, Jackie Coogan became the first true child superstar after co-starring in Charlie Chaplin's The Kid. His face was on lunchboxes. His name meant money $4 million by the time he was 10. But when he turned 21, he discovered his fortune was gone, spent by his mother and stepfather. His legal battle shocked the nation and led to the creation of the Coogan Law, ensuring that child actors' earnings would be protected going forward. Later in life, he made a surprising return as Uncle Fester on The Addams Family. His early pain sparked legal protections that still stand today. At number 10 is Johnny Crawford. He was featured on The Rifleman. Johnny Crawford became America's favorite cowboy kid. He also launched a music career charting hits like Cindy's Birthday, but as the 60s wore on, Johnny found fewer roles. Typecasting had taken hold. Rather than chasing a fading spotlight, Johnny embraced his love for vintage music. He led a retro dance orchestra and made a modest, happy life doing what he loved. In 2021, he passed away after battling Alzheimer's. But those who knew him remember not just the boy on the frontier, but the man who reinvented himself with quiet grace. And there you have it, 10 child stars who vanished from Hollywood. Some fell hard, some walked away, others were forced out. But each story offers something more than just nostalgia. They offer lessons about fame, identity, and the struggle to stay whole when the world only sees you as a character. Bobby Driscoll's lonely death reminds us of Hollywood's cruelty. Shirley Temple's political career shows us what reinvention can look like, and stories like Margaret O'Brien's prove that balance is possible even after the spotlight fades. If there's one takeaway from all of this, it's this: fame isn't forever. But the people behind the performances, they're real. They grow, they suffer, they survive. So next time you rewatch an old film or classic TV show, remember the kid smiling back at you wasn't just playing a role. They had dreams, families, heartbreaks, and a future.